Morning everyone, hope you're going well. Just here looking at the corn. So it's tracking along pretty good. We watered it again a week ago, just to try and, we had a bit of crusting just to try and get a few of those smaller plants through. It sort of has helped. Weather, they probably might not come to much, but anyway, we have had a bit of issue with birds, with bin chickens or ibis. We call them bin chickens. Those birds, you always see it hang around bins, pinching scraps and that sort of stuff. So we have had a few mobs of them. I haven't actually done anything with them. Probably should have set some scare guns up, but you can see, I think they're not so much after the corn. They've just been, there must be some bugs and that around that they're getting. So there are a few chewed leaves and that sort of stuff, and they sort of trample. When the ground's wet, they walk along and sort of trample it, which doesn't help. But all in all, it looks pretty happy with it. We did water the other block as well while we were going. So it was much the same. It needed a good watering, but it is starting to power along. Miranda's, I think she came yesterday. I think she's was gonna take some tissue samples and just see what nutrients it needs. You can see there, just a random one, bit of pinkish on the leaf. So we're not far off probably our first urea application, possibly towards the end of this week. Just here, the guys have been out from scheduled it and put the weather station / moisture probes in. So the probes across there in the ground. So basically we'll use that. If you're new to the channel, we use these to schedule when to irrigate. So it's real-time information. It's got a rain gauge on it, temperature, humidity. I'm not sure whether I think it does have wind as well. And then obviously the moisture probe in the ground, so we know how much water the crop's using, and then we can time when we water it to that. So. But it's basically just letting it do its own thing here at the moment, until we look at starting to put a bit of nitrogen on it. I know last year we did put a foliar spray about this time or a little bit later, so we'll just like a foliar nutrient spray. So we'll just see how that plans out. In other news, we started harvest. After all the mucking around with the fuel tank, I thought we had more dramas yesterday when we were shifting the machine out to the other farm, and it went into limp mode on me a couple of times with, I think it was high fuel rail pressure on the engine. I thought, oh no, here we go. But not too sure what the go was, whether it just had a bit of air in the system. So we actually turned around and headed back to home. I'd only got halfway down here. It wasn't even a kilometre from home, and turned around and headed home, and it seemed to have sorted itself out. So we got out the back, got set up with. We harvested a sample of barley, and Tony ran that over to Tokemall to the receival, and we were 11.7% protein, moisture, 11.7% moisture. So that was good. We need to be under 12.5, so we're good to go. So what grade it's going to make, I don't know yet. We stripped about a truckload and knocked off. The biggest issue at the moment is it's not harvest weather, especially for harvesting barley. It's pretty tough thrashing and that sort of thing. So we didn't go real late last night. We were only sort of up past 6. I just thought, we got set up and got going, and then this morning I got a jumper on. It's a bit after 7, so I think Tony's going to come out about 10. What I'm going to do, I've got a neighbour that's wanting he's got a little feedlot that's wanting a load of barley, so I'm thinking while it's quiet and we're sort of organised, I'll run him a load of barley out of the road, and then it's done. We've got Russell coming out at lunchtime to hop in our truck, and then the other carrier, he'll be about lunchtime too. So it's yielding pretty good. Like I think it's a bit hard to tell, but on what we've stripped area-wise and sort of tonnage-wise, I reckon it's 4 tonne or better, which is fantastic on 200 mil rainfall. So we've we have used a bit of that stored moisture, or probably a fair bit of it. Yeah, so anyway, we do have an issue with the fuel tank. We've got the fitting in the bottom of it's dripping, so we're just gonna run the tank out rather than pumping it out again. We're just gonna run the machine for the day and try and get as low as we can, try and get as much fuel out of it as we can, and then we'll pull that fitting back out and put it back in. I don't know, yeah, we used the proper stuff, but I didn't put any Teflon tape on it. The fitting in the bottom of the tank wasn't great. It was a little bit loose, but anyway, we'll get out of here and get this truck loaded, and go and tip it off, and by then it'll probably be time to start the header. Loading. There we go. We can tell by our gauges how much weight we've got on, so get a bit of an idea of what the Farley's one. We'll have a pretty good load on by the end of it. So we did about 10 hectares last night. So see what we've got here in a minute. I'm not in the header. So we've had a catastrophic. I don't know whether I mentioned on the last one, when I left home yesterday in the header, it brought up a fuel rail pressure fault, and the header actually went into limp mode. And it had to shut it down and start it again to get it to go. So I did that twice, and then turned around and headed for home, and it came good. It sort of cleared itself, and I didn't know whether it just had a bit of air floating around from one, changing the tank, and two, we've changed the filters as well. Put new fuel filters on it this year, so I wasn't too sure what the go was, so we headed around the other farm with it and got it. Yeah, we harvested for, we did 10 hectares or something like that, and we got done this morning, and the third box full, it derated on me again, and of course shut everything down and shut the motor down, and went to restart it, and it wouldn't start. So yeah, hopped out and had diesel running down the side of the machine, which is never ideal and hot stuff. So I hopped up, and on further investigation, we'd actually split. There's two lines that come out of the injector pump and run into the side of the block on the motor. And I got Tony to bring the fire cart down because it had actually been spraying diesel onto the exhaust. So yeah, we were very lucky we didn't light a fire. Anyway, so I got Tony just to turn it over, and we worked out where the diesel was coming out of, and it's actually where the line comes out of the injector pump and into the block of the motor. And it's actually, there was a vertical split there on that fitting. So I sort of thought, we'll take that off. It's just a banjo, like a fuel, got a stainless steel line into the top of the pump. So a sort of banjo fitting, or what they call a banjo fitting, on the top of the pump. And yeah, could see the crack, and I thought, well, I'll unbolt that fitting out of the top of the pump and pull it out, and pulled that out, and it had a big spring in that on the bottom of it, and noticed that the pump was full of some sort of material. Now we think that's metal. On the outlet of this thing I took out, there was a bit of stuff blocking the hole. So we're losing, basically it was blocking the line into the motor. And I think, talking to the mechanic, like, they run 25 or 30,000 PSI or pound pressure. So of course the fuel pressure has had to go somewhere, and it's split the fitting on the top of the pump. So the pump is now cactus, rat shit, whatever. I don't know whether we could rebuild it or not. So I got on the guys at O'Connor's, which is our local case dealership, and I've got one in. Actually, I had a few, which makes me think this might be it's not a one-off. May have happened before, but they had 3 dealerships that had one, and the closest dealership was 3.5 hours away, which is St Arnaud. So I'm now in the ute at, well, I've got on the road I've been in the ute half an hour, where it'll be an 8-hour round trip by the time I get back. So on the upside, the barley was yielding really well. It's not going to rain, or don't think it's going to rain, so, but it's just starting to get a bit frustrating, this sort of stuff. So, and Christ knows what it'll be worth. I thought the fuel tank at $3,800 was, I thought it was going to be, as I said on that video, it was going to be 3 times that. I reckon this will be 10 or 12 or 15,000. So, in the striving metropolis of Picola at the moment. Yeah, so anyway, it is what it is. We'll just go and get it. It's going to take me 8 hours to get it and about 15 minutes to change it, which is always frustrating. Nice big pretty bird there on the side of the silos. Bit cool. Anyway, we'll make them all and yeah, get back and try and get this thing running anyway tonight. It'll be 8 o'clock, 8:30 probably before I get back, so we won't get much done today. I had the trucks teed up, I sort of had to ring them and cancel them. I did deliver a load down to a neighbour that I mentioned that was wanting one, so I did that, and there's probably actually another load there for our truck, but there's no point getting Russell to come out and do one load. So anyway, we'll yeah, go and get this thing and try and get the wheels turning again. We have the precious cargo. So yeah, I was a bit concerned. I rang the girl, I had to give her a call. The guys at Corowa said I'll give them a ring when you're about half an hour out, and which I did, and she goes, oh, I'll just yeah, I'll get the forklift out and get on the forklift. And I'm thinking to myself, the forklift? This thing's as big as my Yeti water bottle and you need a forklift. I'm thinking, yeah, mate, we've got the right, we're talking the same part. But anyway, alas, we're right. So we're about $5,600 in that box there. I honestly thought it might have been, like the fuel tank, I thought it might have been twice that and some. So yeah, there is actually an upgrade. This is an updated version. The serial number on my on the water pump that was injector pump that was on it, they've updated it. Old mate in Corowa did explain it to me. So anyway, so it's about 4:30 now. By Google Maps, my estimated time of arrival back at home is 7:20. So we'll see how we go, whether we get it back in tonight. I'd like to, just to get it running. I'm a bit concerned about the crap that's now floating around. Yeah, I don't know. I probably need to have a mechanic about it, just see what he reckons with, you know, rubbish and shit going into the injectors. So that'll be the next thing. But look, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed it's sort of blocked and nothing's got in there. So anyway, we'll get home. We've got it. That's the main thing. See, see what time it is when we get back. Morning. All right, so I decided not to. Cows across the road are a bit noisy. Yeah, decided to knock off last night when I got back rather than coming out here. I was probably going to run out of daylight anyway. So I've brought the fuel trailer with the compressor out. We'll give it, yeah, just blow a bit of dust off from around it. We need to keep it area as clean as we can. I'll get this step out of the road just to make things a bit easier to get at. So we've got these top couple to come off, and then there's the 3 on the face here, or 4 on the face really. Yeah, so then we'll just see. And then yeah, the 4 bolts there that hold it in. It does have a gear on the end of it. The new one's got a tapered spline with a nut. Oh, sorry, yeah, tapered shaft, and then nut goes on it, so it's got a gear on the end of it. So we'll have to try and get that off. Yeah, anyway, we'll get this step out of the road first. So you can see here, it was basically cracked in the top here. So we've got blistered paint here on the side of the exhaust. So diesel was going that way. And yeah, that's what I got out, and I could see it running down the side of the machine, but it's all over the auger. And so yeah, once we get it back together and running, I'll give it a wash, bring the fire unit down and give it a wash just to get all this diesel off it. Yeah, anyway, I'm hoping an hour we might have it running. Fingers crossed, we'll see. Alright, we've got everything. I've just cut little bits of rag and zip tied on all the ends of the pipes just to try and keep everything clean. So there's a filter, what they call a crankcase filter, goes in there, and there's obviously a big sprocket on the end of this pump. So I've got to get that undone to get it to come out. So yeah, we'll see how we go. Hopefully it doesn't take too much. So just ducked home. One, I didn't have a socket big enough to get that nut off for that gear on the end of the pump, but I've also I just had a look on the internet. I've got a copy of the service manual for that machine, but there was nothing in there about the injector pump. We could put the entire motor in and out of the header, but not the injector pump. So what I've done, I've actually rang the mechanic, and he's going to have a look on what he's got, and he's actually going to come out and give us a hand. So I've just called for a bit of hired help. I was a bit worried that the pump may need to have been timed. He didn't think that was a concern, but it shouldn't take long to get it back together. I've got it all pulled apart. We just need to pull this gear off and swap everything over, so that'll be the go. Righto, we have it out. So now all I've got to do is just change these ports over. Actually, been waiting on my mechanic, but I just thought I'd have a crack at it. So I was able to get the rattle gun in and just buzz that nut off. It wasn't that tight. And then the gear is just on a tape and it doesn't actually have a keyway. I just put a bit of force on the back of it and it popped off. So that's worked out all right. So anyway, we'll get these ports changed over, a new one in here, and then I can get it all bolted back up, and then hopefully he might turn up when the sprocket needs to go, the gear needs to go back on. I don't know whether that nut needs to be torqued to a specific tension or what, but the wind's got up, which is a bit of a pain in the arse because it's not the cleanest environment on a good day, so I've sort of got rags jammed in everything just to keep the chaff out of stuff. So anyway, we'll get to here and get these changed over and hopefully it goes back in alright. Alright, easy as that. Chuck a bit of oil on this O-ring and we'll get it back in, see how it goes. We're close, we're very close. So the problem we've got is, and if you look over about there, Simo, our head of mechanic, he's over there trying to get phone service. It's the state of play of telecommunications in Australia. Not just at the moment, it's been like it for a while, it's shit. So you get very little phone service down here where we are, so he's gone up there. I had all this basically back on before he just rolled in as I was bolting the pump back up. Problem we got is this nut that holds the gear on the end of it that drives the pump, it's got to be done up at a specific tension. Now we don't know what that tension is. He's sort of gone through all his stuff that he's got. I've got the service manual for this machine at home. I've been through it. There's nothing doesn't talk about the pump at all. So he's just on the phone ringing mechanic mates that he sort of works in with, just to try and find out if we can find out what that tension is. It's not very tight because it didn't take much, like a quick hit with the rattle gun and it came undone. It wasn't like a wheel nut where it was super tight, but we need to get it right because there's no keyway on that gear. It's just on a taper. So yeah, so we're just gonna have to wait and see. But I'll just clean a few bits and pieces up and zip tie on a bit of wiring back up and that sort of thing. So, but everything's tight on that end. So it's just to get this gear back on. It'll only take 5 minutes to put that gear back on. But yeah, we just need to know what that tension is. So yeah, fun and games. But anyway, we're getting there. The noise we want to hear. Chuck the computer on it to just make sure all the pressures are right. Go and then take it back up and watch a bit of news along it before we get into it. Rolling. Finally, we're sort of getting into a bit of a groove, touch wood. So first truck, we've loaded our truck, just done a calibration load with it now, and the first truck, he's just rolled in to get a load. So would have been about full actually. So, but it's interesting. Yields are astronomical for 8 inches or 200 mil of rain for the year. Like parts through here, it's up over 6 tonnes. Obviously not all like that, but it's going to probably sit somewhere high 4s to the hectare, which is fantastic really. So straw is pretty tough still. We're just probably not quite getting the capacity out of the machine, but that's all right. We're just got to try and get as much as we can basically. So we'll just you can sort of see, I don't know how well the camera shows it, but you can see the straw out of the back of the header is sitting on top of the stubble. That's a sort of sure indication that the stubble's a bit green, straw's a bit green, still a bit tough, and it's still not hot outside. Like we might be 28 or 9 degrees. Ideally it'd be good if it was 32 or 3. That sort of 5 degrees does make a fair bit of difference. I got Brendan here on the chaser bin, so yeah, he's not run off his feet. I've cut a block up the middle here and we'll just work either side of it so we can unload. Get sort of going both ways. So, but no, it's all touch wood. We've got our little gremlins out of the system now, and we can get some crop strips. So we'll be all day tomorrow stripping barley and possibly a bit of Tuesday. Well, we'll do Sunday today, so yeah, possibly a bit of Tuesday. I'm going to get Brendan in the header tomorrow. I've got an appointment in the morning, and we've got shed going tomorrow as well, so they'll have to be loaded at some point in time. But at the moment it's just good to be getting a bit done. I was getting a bit frustrated. Anyway, but it's only, blokes are only just a couple of days in. Most blokes are only just a couple of days into it anyway, so we've got a fair bit in front of us, so it's good just to get going and get into a bit of a groove. So we're nearly full up. Just going to strip this header box full, and then we're going to have to pull up waiting for trucks. Russell has tipped off, he's on his way back. I get a text message once they've weighed off, and it just lets us know what the grade of the grain is, and then how much weight they had on. So it's a good system. Both we've got GrainCorp, and we've also got a private receiver. We're going into the private receiver. It used to be Emerald, or which is now Louis Dreyfus, but they've, for whatever reason, parted companies. But it's just good to know as far as where trucks are at. They're about half an hour from here to Tokemore where we're delivering. Half an hour, maybe 40 minutes. So it's not too bad. We've got a bit of dirt road here, but then you get out onto the bitumen, and yeah, it's not a bad little run. So, but crops yielding unbelievably well. I'm really happy with the yield. Yeah, it's hard to believe, as I said before, we're getting what we are, but we're going to be up over 4.5 tonne. I've got that load that Russell took now. I can now calibrate this monitor, which I'll do once we pull up. But yeah, we're going to be 4.5. Yeah, it'll be somewhere between 4.5 and 5 tonne, which is fantastic, and making the top grade, which is really, really good. So yeah, not a bad view from up here on top of the hill either. It's quietly. So we should get the barley finished tomorrow, hopefully. Touch wood, and then yeah, we'll get into the canola. So I got a phone call. Our last winter rain job, it's right to go. So there's about 40 or 50 hectares, I think. So we'll get into it in a couple of days' time. Yeah, so and that'll be the end of it. Thankfully, because she's been a fair slog. So look, the other truck, he's just teared off as well. So he had 40, just shy of 42 tonne on. So he'll be back here as well. So we're not going to be held up for long, which will be good. So we'll still be able to go for a few hours tonight yet. What are we? A bit after 5. So yeah. Anyway, it's all happy days at the moment, which is nice after the start we had. We're all full up, so Russell's just got back in our truck. Kev's going to bring the road train out. Where we're carting to is only open till 6 o'clock, and we're sort of up past 5, so that's alright. We're going to cart a couple of loads home and fill a silo for some seed and sheep feed for us in our truck, so Russell can do that now. And look, a couple of hours, yeah, it's probably going to sort of cool down anyway, but yeah, if we can fill the mother bin again. Yeah, obviously there'll be another load here for Kev in the morning, or Russell can load and go first thing. So yeah, we'll just keep going and just see. Well, yeah, go to 8 o'clock or yeah, whatever. Sort of see how the weather pans out really, and how cool it gets. Gone from a breeze all day to very little breeze. So we've got a bit of ordinary stuff through the middle here. At the bottom of the hill is quite raw sand there, but it's yeah, look, our average is still up above 4.5 tonne, which is really good. Yeah, it's got dust hanging. Yeah, probably another half an hour. We've got lambs going tomorrow, which I mentioned, so I do need to go home and run them in. They're not far from the yard, so it won't take long, and even if it is a bit dark, we can still manage them. But yeah, sort of ground speed has backed off a little bit just with the temperature dropping, which generally happens. Yeah, it's been a pretty good day given there's probably an hour left here, so I don't think we'll get it, but yeah, given we didn't really start till 1 o'clock, we've been able to march across a bit, which is good. Yeah, so we're well in the roll of harvest. It seems to be running along pretty well. Yeah, so one thing we do need to do is we need to get the fuel gauge, which is that one. We need to get him down as close to empty as we can. That the fitting in the bottom of the tank's dripping. So yeah, I want to get it low, and then we can unscrew the fitting out of the bottom of it and reseal it. I'm actually thinking it may not be the right. It's funny, it's got a gauze strainer in the top of it, and when I screwed it in, it didn't screw in real tight. So I'm half thinking it may not even. Yeah, the tank might have a different fitting thread in the bottom of it. So yeah, it's here, he's coming out of the dust. But yeah, we'll get it as empty as we can, and then we'll yeah, just drain the last little bit and reset it, and hopefully we can get it to stop leaking. But we'll get on to canola tomorrow, which will be good. We've got we'll probably end up doing all our canola now, just with this extra day, and by the time we get to it, the irrigated stuff will be ready, and then we'll go contracting. So canola price has really jumped. It's up around that at $770, $780 a tonne. So yeah, we'll get our own done, and then we've got a couple of days in Baruga at that job, and then where the big dairy farm was. So there'll be good 3 or 4 days down there, might be a bit longer. So and then by then we might have some wheat ready. So yeah, just see how we go. But fingers crossed, that's the end of the breakdowns. Alright, day 1 of harvest in the books. So fingers crossed everything's going to go a bit smoother now, but yeah, we've got this 25 hectares triangle block across the road that we'll get done tomorrow, and then yeah, get changed over to canola hopefully, and yeah, get into it. So alright, a bit of a frustrating one for me, that one, but anyway, yeah, it's good content for you guys anyway, at the very least. So, alright, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.